So then I clicked on the X button to make it go away, but then it was a link to another ad, and when I tried to cancel that, another window came up and it was this. Dude, what the f, bro? What does this mean, dude, bro? What the f, bro?
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. We're going to do a little social media story here. There are some allegations that came out against Frank Gogol, who's a comic book writer, from another comic book writer. Her name is Melissa White. Apparently, they had an encounter at BarCon at New York City Comic Con, and she claims that he used like a racial slur. He denies it, but you have to see the denial to believe it. I'm not going to show the whole thing because it's like both of their statements are like 15 tweets long. So I'll show you the opening statement and show you why hers is effective and his is not, and how scared he is. This man is petrified, even though he's trying to defend himself. This is not how you defend yourself, people. When you say this, you're not going to believe it. Now, Melissa White went out on Twitter and she released this opening tweet and ends up going for a long time. I'll leave the threads in the comments section if you want to check them out for yourself. But I'll gist it. This is what she had to say. I've been afraid to tell this story for backlash for years, but here we go. Frank Gogol called me a racial slur at 2018 New York City BarCon. The experience was the among many of negative experiences at BarCons. At the time, I was told that he was a big deal in comics. And she goes on to explain that they were introduced through a mutual friend. They were out, I believe they went to dinner. They ended up having some drinks. He got drunk, apparently found a couple of the ladies, including Melissa, attractive, and then ended up making a racial joke about the way she looked, or the way black people look. And specifically, I guess, in this allegation, she says that he called him a racial slur at that point. And then later, the next day, his friend that she had met the night before, I'm not sure if this was the mutual friend, shows back up. He sees her, apologizes on Frank's behalf, and says, point blank, Frank gets racist when he gets drunk. Pretty straightforward allegations. As I mentioned, there's going to be a link in the video description. Frank Gogol does not recall it that way. He actually provides some pretty interesting information as far as discrediting kind of what her recollection is. But his opening salvo for defending himself is probably the worst thing I've ever seen. It is so scared. He is petrified to say anything bad about this person while at the same time calling them a liar. He's saying, this never happened. I never did this. But this is his opening statement. First and foremost, I want to say that when women, people of color, LGBTQIA folks, she's all three, and other marginalized people speak up, it is vital that we listen to and believe them. Right there, he has told you that everything that she said, you should believe. In the military, when you're writing up a report, like you're going to send it up to the commander or whatever, depending on how much time he has, he might only have time to read the opening paragraph. So what we call it is bottom line up front. You give the summary and all the information that he would need, and then below that is you explaining how you came to this, you're backing up information, who you contacted, the whole story behind it. Bottom line up front. Here, his bottom line up front is believe her, because she's a person of color, woman, LGBTQIA plus folk. This is terrible. More people are going to see this part of the tweet right here than any other part or anything else that he says. And there's like 15 tweets underneath this supporting what he has to say. He goes on to say in this opening tweet, I'm grateful to see such a strong showing of support for somebody who's coming forward with their story, talking about Melissa White's allegations directly against him that he's refuting. But he's grateful to see that everyone believes her. And he's saying that you yourself should believe her as well. This is insanity. He goes on to support his claim that this isn't true, but he, in this opening statement, has said that everything that this person says, she should be believed. And that he is grateful that people are showing support for the allegations and coming forward and spreading these allegations against him, these rumors against him. about what happened at BarCon. And what she says is New York City Comic Con 2018. He goes into details, and they are different. First up, he says it's not New York City Comic Con 2018. It was New York City Comic Con 2017. He even cites the month October. He also explains, I don't know why anybody would have thought I was a big deal in comics at the time, because he'd never written a comic book, or at least if he had, it hadn't been published at the time. He was an unpublished comic creator. I don't understand how anybody would say that Frank Gogol was a big deal in comics at the time, and be quite frank, and this is I'm not being rude to Mr. Gogol. I don't know the man, but he's not a big deal in comics today. He never has been. He's done some work on like Power Rangers and some other, creator-owned stuff, and I'm sure there's some Frank Gogol fans that are listening to this that think he is a big deal. But for the most part, a vast majority of comic readers and people in the industry don't know who he is. He's never been a big deal. And specifically, to refute what she says, he says, I wasn't even published at the time. So nobody would have said I was a big deal in comics at the time. So he's providing some pretty interesting facts that refute her story outright. He also goes on to claim that he contacted everybody that he was there with, that brought her to their dinner party and into the social group, and that they all assured him that that did not happen, that he composed himself very well. And that's all very well and good. But by this point, it doesn't matter. No one's going to even have read that part, because he initially came out and said, first and foremost, I want to say that when women, people of color, LGBTQIA plus folks, and other marginalized people speak up, it is vital that we listen and believe them. He lost everything right there. And also, praising the support that this person is receiving for what he's saying are lies and slander against it. I'm grateful to see such a strong showing of support for someone who is coming forward with their own story, with their story. You can't make this stuff up. He literally says this. Believe this person. I'm grateful for all the support that they're receiving. And everything they said was a lie. And here's all the things that I have that refute that. I've never been a published I hadn't been published at the time. No one would have thought I was important in comic books. This didn't happen in 2018. It happened in 2017, October specifically. I went and spoke to the people that were with us. They all refute her story. Now, if they come forward and give their accounts and back him up, certainly that would be more beneficial to him and his story. We'll see if that happens. I doubt it, because as you can see by his opening salvo, his bottom line up front, he's scared to death to say anything while defending himself that could be perceived as his using likely what he perceived as his own white male privilege. It's crazy stuff. Who's telling the truth, who's not? I don't know. I wasn't there that night. We haven't got enough eyewitness accounts or people talking about what happened there. His facts that he's providing refute what she's saying. And if it did happen in October 2017, all right, okay, the recall's wrong. His recall was better. And also, if he hadn't been published in comics at that time, who would have called him a big deal? There, another indication that maybe that Melissa White's recall is not correct. But he's already sold himself out down the river. This industry is so weird, and it's not just comic books. This is everything. You can't even defend yourself when somebody in your estimation, you say they're lying about you. They're spreading false rumors. They're trying to impact your career. If people believe what she said, Frank Gogol's not going to get any work. Maybe he can self-publish. Certainly he can do that. But this will affect his career. And he's still petrified to put a full accounting in support of himself. He still has to can a statement before defending himself, saying you should listen to this person and believe them. And I'm grateful to see that they've gotten support for what I'm saying is a lie being spread about me. If that doesn't tell you just how weird this world and this comic industry is, I don't know. Mr. Gogol, you need better friends. You need to send them your tweets before you send them out and say, listen, does this sound right? And they can go, no, you're not defending yourself there. Your bottom line up front is so jacked up. You're so scared to be perceived as attacking this person. And going out there and refuting something and saying your timeline of what happens and your recall and the people, whoever's backing you up, that's not attacking somebody. But you can see this dude is just absolutely scared out of his mind. And that's, not only is this the comic book industry we're in, this is the world we're in. I have no idea who's telling the truth here. But if he wasn't published at the time, it certainly doesn't seem like anybody would have called him a big deal. And even if he was, I don't think anybody would ever call Frank Gogol, that was in the comic book industry, a big deal. Would you? Had you ever even heard of it? Most people watching this video wouldn't have. Maybe 5 or 10% of people would even know who this person was. They're not a big deal in comics. They've never been a big deal in comics. And I find it shocking that anybody would have ever referred to Frank Gogol as a big deal in comic books. We shall see. He did not do himself any favors with his initial defense of, you should definitely believe her, and I can't believe, I'm so proud and grateful that everyone's supporting her with her story that I'm saying is a lie about me. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.